Every great city has its tales, and I've been documenting their stories and people for over 20 years. This is Tales of a City. Good evening and welcome to Tales of a City. When I was a kid growing up, we didn't have the internet, we didn't have Facebook, and we didn't have YouTube, but we did have the radio. We listened to it avidly because that was our window to the world and the soundtrack to our lives. And one of my favourite radio stations growing up was Radio 5KA. I listened to it devotedly. And today I had the opportunity to catch up with some of those stars from my childhood.
The real heart of a great radio station is its music. And we at 5KA have made a concerted effort to give you, the listeners of our station, the best possible combination. Thank you. How'd it go, fellas?
5KA. Hit after hit after hit.
Help me to make it through a long day. Music can soothe me, carry me away. Love what you're playing, the album's okay. It's all good fun, every step of the way. The sound of the city of Adelaide. Roll me a song on my 5KA.
Hello, I'm John Dean, and you're tuned to Channel 10 and 5KA for a night of radio with pictures. Tonight you'll hear the latest in music and see your favourite pop stars in action. Your DJs for tonight's programme are Ken Dickin, Greg Clark, Glenn Gale, Ray Gretsch, Greg Reese, Judy Ford, Keith Fowler, and yours truly, John Dean. It's going to be a big night, 6 hours of non-stop radio with pictures, so switch on to 10, turn your radio dial to 5KA, and let's get it all together with Status Quo and Living on an Island.
At Wassail Wine Bar, I had the chance to catch up with some of the 5KA legends. Well, I'm very fortunate to be here at Wassail Wine Bar for the Plan B gig tonight here and the virtual 5KA reunion. I'm here with two of the legends of the old 5KA days, Mr. Mark Pedler and Paul Barry. Nice to have you here, boys.
Thank
Are
you,
you
Jethro.
well?
Very well.
Tell me, Mark, will this bring back memories tonight?
A lot of memories. I'm just so happy that Greg Clark has put this together with his band to have all the KAs that he can have in one spot. This will be the first time in a long time that we have all been together under one roof.
Indeed. Now, Paul and you were a duo on the air.
That's right.
Yeah, we were known as Double Trouble, and
Man, we were.
for a period of time, for good reason.
Yeah.
I can well imagine. I'm sure not much has changed.
We always got bailed out, so we were good.
Yeah.
It was all good.
No, we had a lot of fun. It
We had
was
a lot of
great.
fun,
Back in the middle 80s, around 86 to about 87, 88
Yeah.
onwards.
Yeah.
We had a lot of fun then, and back in before we went to KAFM.
Yeah.
5KA and all hits all the time. And
Yes.
Would you say that the music of that era was better than it is now?
It depends who you ask, Jethro. It depends what year you were born. If you were,
Well, I'm asking you.
Yeah, to me, I was a '70s child. I loved the '70s music. I just love good raw rock and roll. You know, I'm not much into the techno. I'm not much into the computerized sort of music. I mean,
Well, the 80s was full of
Yeah.
pop. How did you like
Yes.
pop?
some pop, I like a lot of stuff. So some pop I liked. I'm like Mark though. I do like the rock and roll. I like heavy music.
Yeah.
Just good pub rock. I'd say, for example, Chisel, Oils, Zeppelin. That's me. But I like anything with a good melody. So anything that was catchy, I like. Yeah.
Back in those days on steam radio, well, it wasn't really. I mean, the 80s was different time on radio because the audience interaction was much different, wasn't it?
Yes.
And you guys actually had much more control of what you played, didn't you?
Not really. But on that note, can I just say,
Sure.
back when we were on radio before mobile phones and before Facebook, and before social media. So basically, back then, radio was it.
Radio was Facebook.
Radio was
before CDs.
Yes.
We were playing records.
Yes.
And cards.
Yeah.
And then the CDs came out. And that's showing age.
Yeah.
I believe.
I think Paul and I were very lucky that we're in the radio era when it was. I think we were lucky to be there when it was really happening.
Now, would it be fair to say that it was during your tenure on radio that the transition to FM radio took place.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
It did.
Yeah.
How did that affect 5KA?
Well, obviously we're up against a very powerful power horse in Adelaide, SAFM, and they were FM way before we were.
Yeah.
We did try the AM stereo for a little while, but that didn't really work.
That sort of got canned.
It was very exciting, wasn't it, Paul?
It was exciting. SAFM were a powerhouse, and we were AM, a music station versus an FM music station, and it took a lot of time to build up. But eventually, I think the conversion to FM helped combat their dominance.
Everything changes eventually, doesn't it?
Yes.
Wasn't KA once owned by the church?
Yes,
Correct.
The Methodist Church.
Yes.
And did they have much to say about content at times?
Yes, they did. The late great Reverend Ivor Bailey was he was our term's head honcho. I don't think he really liked us playing Led Zeppelin in the breakfast show. But we
never did the boss.
never did the boss. No, yeah. Well, they kind of gave us guidelines. They told the program director, "This is what we expect from you guys. This is the boundaries.
Yeah.
We'd like you to stick to those boundaries." And we did. We broke the rules occasionally, but
Yeah.
you know,
But that were the 80s.
that's the 80s.
You had boundaries, we had boundaries.
Yeah.
Did you ever cross them?
Yes.
Yeah.
What were the consequences?
Greg
Can you
Clark
remember one?
Greg Clark and I think I'm quite free to say this, we actually played a song on air one night we were banned to play, but we went and played it anyway, and we were threatened with a memo that we were going to be fired should said offence happen again.
Do you remember the song?
Yes, it was AC/DC's Who Made Who.
And what was the problem with that?
Too heavy.
Two electric guitars.
Speaking of AC/DC, we were big fans of AC/DC. We did a Friday the 13th show at Carclew in Adelaide, and one of our big night was going to feature Hell's Bells by AC/DC, and we were told you can only play it if you cut the solo out of it. And we were going, oh, that's a bit of a compromise, but anyway, how can you do it? We had to do it. So, but we wanted
5KA meant a great deal to all of the people who grew up in the era of 5KA in Adelaide.
Yeah.
I'm included in that.
Yes.
And some of the great names that we were the voices to the soundtrack of our lives have since passed away.
Yeah.
Do you often think of them?
All the time. There are probably too many to mention right now, but the likes of Vaughan Harvey.
Yes.
The golden voice of radio here in Adelaide, and just a beautiful, gentle man.
And how many people went through his radio school and
A
went
lot.
on to become great names in radio themselves?
A lot went through his school, and he's started many careers in radio. Then, of course, you have the likes of Neil Humphreys. Now, Neil was like an uncle to me.
Yeah.
You know, if we...
Yeah, I was fairly young at that stage of my career back with Mark then, and Neil was like so much a father figure, but a guiding light. He was solid. He was a great guy. He was very warm.
Yeah.
And a lot of advice when you needed it.
Taken way too early.
John Vincent.
Where do you start with Vinny? You know, a true icon in this city. You know, and Vinny was a gentleman. You know, he was a rock and roller too. Vinny loved his pub gigs. He loved his raw rock
He had
and roll.
a very Australian sense of humour too.
A great sense of humour. You can hear that in all of his music. You know,
Indeed.
in fact, you'll hear it in the one that we're going to do tonight. So, no, John Vincent, once again, way too early. A great loss to Adelaide radio. A great loss to Adelaide live music.
I can't think South Australian radio without thinking of David Daisy Day.
Daisy.
Who's also the founder of our support act,
Yes.
South Australia, and the Debonair's Lunch.
Yeah.
And look, Greg Clark.
Greg, come up behind
Come
us
on
here, buddy.
over, come around here.
Yeah.
Well, it's a regular Rogues Gallery now. Greg Clark has joined us. We were just talking about past colleagues from the glory days of radio. In particular, we've just mentioned Vaughan Harvey and, of course, Neil Humphreys. And we've just gotten to Daisy Day and mentioned Support Act. What else would you add to this wonderful list of people?
He was the one. He put it all together, and it's now called officially Daisy's Debonair's Luncheon in Aid of Support Act. South Australia.
You got that out in one hit, didn't you, mate? I've got it down pat now, mate.
You
It's
are the one that
Daisy's.
spits it out at the lunches.
Absolutely, you've got to do that. It's Daisy's Debonair's Lunch for Support Act.
Correct, and that's exactly what it is. And it's Support Act is the charity for musicians. It's they call it the heart and hand of Australian music. It does a great job. It doesn't hand out cash because that would be a really silly thing to do with musicians and,
No.
and support people. Don't hand out cash.
The Plan B gig tonight here at Wassail Wine Bar. It's a special one. It's a virtual 5KA reunion.
Yes, it is.
Will it bring back great memories for you, Greg Clark?
The memories beside me here. Yeah, and one to come. Big Mr. John Pemberton will be joining us as well.
Pembo,
Yeah, he's going to get behind the mic. Yeah.
brace yourselves.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's all I can say.
Yep.
Brace yourselves. Well, gentlemen, I hope you have a fabulous evening. I'll check back in with you a little later in the evening, and I'll keep you right over my shoulder.
He'll keep you satisfied.
Thank you, Paul.
This night is one of those special nights to just feel that camaraderie and love and support from the people we all work together. We're friends, we're family.
It's nice to see all those faces after
Oh,
these years.
it's brilliant. It's brilliant. To see Paul Barry, Mark Pedler, of course, he goes back further than 5KA for me. We met in Alice Springs when I worked at the radio station up there, 8H8, at the theatre group. We were both in a play together. And then when I came to Adelaide later on in 1988, I started work at 5KA, and of course Mark was one of the first people to come and welcome me. Oh, you're here, you're here. He was quite big. Him and, I think he was on air with Di at the time, Mark
Right.
and Daisy.
He's paired up with pretty much everyone.
He's
Clarkey,
had a good duo career, yes.
Paul
Him and
Barry,
Paul,
yourself.
Greg Clark.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a legend, Mark Pedler. And so is Paul
Radio
Barry.
has changed, hasn't it?
Radio's not the same anymore.
No.
Unless you're listening to Coast FM or Wow
Community
FM
radio
or-
stations.
yeah.
Where there is some audience interaction.
It's still that direct connection. Yeah.
The internet killed the radio star, it
Sure
seems.
did. Not video at all.
No, indeed. These days, I do pine for those days of radio. I mean, the call-ins, the
Yes.
competitions,
Absolutely.
the beachside events.
Oh, those outside broadcasts, OBs.
Yep.
We used to call them. You're down to the beach at the show.
Yes,
Did a couple of
course.
stints at the show when I was with 5DN. But the 5 years I had at KA, I was more in programming, doing the music. I got the privilege of working with Neil Humphreys.
Well, now that's interesting. I have an opportunity to ask you a question.
Okay.
Now, you do remember the old days of payola, the
Oh,
scandal
yes.
that took place
Yes, indeed.
involving radio DJs being paid for playing records.
Yep.
Now, was it around that era that DJs lost control of what they were able to play on air, and it became a playlist set by management?
Yes, exactly that. You were constrained. Previous to that, I mean, going way back to 8HA days, we just used to go in for a shift, grab a pile of records and play what we felt like playing. And every shift was the same.
Well, I'm here with Robert, and Robert is a self-confessed 5KA stalker, so let me guess, you really enjoyed listening to 5KA when you were younger.
Absolutely, yeah. I've actually been listening to the old KA since I was 4 years old, so we're talking 1973.
Wow, that really is a dedicated listener. That's one of the things that the broadcasters are probably not aware of, because they never get to meet their viewing audience. Well, listening audience, I should say. When we think of the days of 5KA radio, what are your fondest memories?
It was a family station. I mean, it was a station by a family, for a family. I mean, they were more involved with the public. You've got to remember, this is back in the days before community radio became into prominence like it is today.
Yeah.
I mean, community radio was still around, but not to the relevance that it is today.
And I would say that the audience was far more interactive because there wasn't the internet and there wasn't Facebook. It was call into your favourite radio show.
Absolutely. I mean, I can still recall the days of 5KA with the late Neil Humphreys, bless him. I mean, my mother, at my 21st birthday, which for me, I'm sure I'm aged now, I'm 50 now, but back then, my mother was able to give the station a call and say, can we put in a request or even a cheerio or anything else like that. And these days with technology, God love it or God hate it, whatever you want to word it, that
it's a thing of the past, isn't it?
It is, and it's not as interactive, like you say, anymore. I mean, there were competitions, for example, that would get listeners involved more so in the way that
And remember those beachside events that they'd staged, you know?
Absolutely. I mean, not only that, they were giving reports by the beach. And they were saying stuff like, oh, yes, now 27 degrees at the beach. The estimated level of burning time might be X amount of minutes. There's none of that.
Time to turn before you burn. Remember that?
Absolutely. I mean, and not only that, the music then was actually driven in such a way that there were times there that on my Facebook groups now, I'm not trying to promote them or anything, but I try and return back to the days of radio where an announcement...
Bit of nostalgia.
Woodit boy, you got a ticket? You got a ticket, man?
Hello there, Mr. Pemberton. How are you?
Jethro, how are you going?
Very nice to see you here at this virtual 5KA reunion.
Where's the cement pond? It's an oldie but a good one.
Indeed. Maybe
Drysdale's using it.
this must be a bit of a time travel trip for you, coming back and seeing some of the guys.
Well, it is a bit, yes, it is a bit.
Yeah, because he
but
saw
then
me
again,
about 4 days ago, I think.
I was in bed with him about 2 minutes ago, so it's not that long ago, no.
Do we expect to see your musical performance on stage tonight?
I'm here to steal the show,
That's it.
like I did at
Knew he
Bruce
would.
Springsteen.
Knew he would.
We are Plan B. We have something special planned tonight. We have a lot of 5KA influence in the night tonight. We have some well-known announcers from the past who are going to be performing with us. And we have a lot of staff members from KA as well. There are once again people here from family. There are people here from primary school, from high school as well. It is great to have you with us at our stage. And they're only getting the good-looking people in, which is really nice to see. Remember the 60s? Back in the 60s we had a full head of hair. We were singing at every new hip joint. Now we're in our 60s, we've got no hair and we need a new hip joint. It's an oldie but a goodie. And this is an old tune from Reservoir Dogs about program directors we had over the years. Clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right. Here I am stuck in the middle with you.
John Pemberton still performs with the same gusto and energy as he did when he was exciting thousands of young screaming teenagers back in the day.
Hold your legs, whatever. Girl, you really got me going. You got me so I don't know what I'm doing now.
You really got me down. You got me so I can't sleep at night. Yeah, you really got me going. You got me so I don't know what I'm doing now. Oh yeah, you really got me down. You got me so I can't sleep at night. You really got me. You really got me. You really got me. Don't ever sit with me. I always wanted to be by your side.
It was great to see these people who have contributed so much to my generation's growing up come together and enjoy themselves for this reunion. Thank you 5KA, thanks for the music and the soundtrack to our lives.